Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Yudiana Pradita.
My name is Syifa Aidha Hayaty. We are from group 6. We will present about format and presentation.
Okay, now we will start our presentation. Format and presentation. Format and other parts of the curriculum design process. It is at the format and presentation part of the curriculum design process that the data get tracked from needs and environment analysis, and the principles chosen to maximize learning come together in activities that involve the learners. Guidelines for deciding on format. Format and presentation must take account of the environment in which the course will be used, the needs of the learners, and principles of teaching and learning. If the lesson always follow the same format, then the introduction to the course book can include some explanation of the goals and how they are best reached. And this is environment for learners. First, the layout of the content should attract the learners. Should attract or interest the learners. Second, the learners should have the skills to do the activities. The third, the activities should take account of the whether of the learners share the same first language. Fourth, the activities should be suitable for a range of levels of proficiency in a class. And fifth, the activities should suit the size of the class. And last, the activities should fit the learning style of the learners. For teacher, the activities should be able to be presented and managed by the teacher. For example, the teacher should be able to organize group work. And for situation, the course book should be easy to carry. And then the material in the course or the course book should not be too expensive. And then the amount of material in a lesson should suit the length of a class. And then the activity should suit the physical features of the classroom. For example, move decks for group work or soundproof for oral work. And then for based on needs. Luck. The learners should be able to successfully complete the activities. And once the activities should take account of what the learners expect to do in a language learning course. And then necessities is the kind of activity should be useful to the learners in their future use or future learning of the language. For example, knowing how to write or knowing how to negotiate. And then for principles. First, motivation. Motivation, as much as possible, the learners should be interested and excited about learning the language, and they should come to value this learning. And then for stance, a course should include a roughly even balance of meaning, focused input, language focused learning, meaning focused output, and fluency activities. Next, comprehensible input. There should be substantial quantities of interesting, comprehensible, receptive activity in both listening and reading. And next, fluency. A language course should provide activities aimed at increasing the fluency with which learners can use the language they already know, both perceptively and productively. And then, output. The learner should be pushed to produce the language in both speaking and writing over a range of discourse type. And next, deliberate learning. The course should include language-focused learning on the sound system, spelling, vocabulary, grammar, and discourse areas. And next, time of task. As much as much time as possible should be spent using and focusing on the second language. And then, depth of processing. Learners should process the items to be learned as deeply and as thoughtfully as possible. Next, integrative motivation. A course should be presented so that the learners have the most favorable attitude to the language, to users of the language, to the teacher's skill in teaching the language, and to their chance of success in learning and language. And the last, learning style. There should be opportunity for learners to work with the learning material in ways that most suit their individual learning style. There are meaning focused input, meaning focused output, language focused learning, and fluency development. Meaning focused input involve having the involves having the opportunity to learn from listening and speaking. There is low density of unfamiliar language features and focus on the meaning of the message and a large quantity of input. For example, reading while listening to what is being read. And then meaning focused output. Meaning focused output involves learning through speaking and writing. Um, there is a well-balanced language course spend about one quarter of the course time on meaning focused speaking and writing. And then if a language course has the goal of developing skill in writing, then there needs to be regular meaning focused writing. If the language course has the goal of developing skill in speaking, then there needs to be regular meaning focused speaking. And then play language focused learning. Language focused learning involves a deliberate focus on language features such as pronunciation, spelling, word parts, vocabulary, collocations, grammatical constructions, and discourse features. It's, it is with activities which could occur activities which could occur in the language focused learning strand of course, intensive reading, pronunciation practice, guide, guide writing, spelling practice, blank filling activities, sentence completion or sentence combining activities, getting feedback on written work correction during speaking activities, learning vocabulary from word cards, memorizing collections, dictation, and the explicit study of discourse features. And last, fluency development. Fluency involves making the best use of what is already known. First, easy, familiar material. Second, focus on communicating message. Third, some some pressure to perform at a faster speed. And fourth, plenty of opportunities for fluency practice.
Following a set format. When designing the format of a lesson, the curriculum designer needs to consider environment factors such as the length of time available for each lesson and the teacher's skill and role in the lesson and the size of a typical class. Okay, let us look at one format as an example. This is a example format. The lesson format of this course divided into the following parts. There are three parts. The first, listening input usually with a meaning focus, and the second, language focus learning taking a point from the listening, and the last, meaning focus output mainly speaking, often involving pair and group work and a game-like activity. And in point number 3, usually the teacher will divide students into groups and they will be told to play games that require focus and listening skill so students can be trained. Okay, next about blocks and threads. The typical block formats include the type of listen look at earlier. In this capture with listening and reading input, language focus activity, and meaning focus output. Another block format involves an experience providing stage, a guide practice stage, and then a fluency development stage. Blocks of this kind provide support for the lesson planner in that once the types of blocks is chosen as being suitable for the goals that the teacher wants to achieve of lesson itself requires very little planning because its parts are predictable and the later parts build on the previous parts of the lesson. The other way of planning a lesson is by making use of threads. Threads are activities that run through a series of lessons. Threads are activities that can be used again and again with minimal planning and only small changes. And this is example of threads across a range of skill you can see in the PowerPoint. Next, About technique and activities, a large variety of technique and activities can be drawn on when designing lesson. This can be divided into four major types, and this is for example technique and activities. You can see the lots about task and presentation. The argument that task-based learning advocate like Long and Crocus 1992 presented again. Other types of syllabus are mostly argument about the presentation of material rather than the selection of content. Okay, maybe that's all about our presentation. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.